Hello, everyone. Before I start, if just someone could just let me know if I'm clear and audible. Am I clear and audible?
Yes, Ekta.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Thank you.
Loud and audible.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So hello all. A very good afternoon to everyone. Myself, Ekta Sidube, and on behalf of the Brinalytics team and our presenting partner, botminds.ai, we welcome you all and thank you for being part of our webinar, Document Process Workflow Automation for Insurance. Before we start the webinar, there are a few guidelines that I would like to highlight and make you people aware of. Requesting all the attendees to be on mute, please, when the speakers are taking their session. There would be a Q&A after each session, for which we will be showcasing the guidelines on the PPT, also putting that on the chat room as well. So the guidelines are, you need to raise your hands, unmute yourself on your video, introduce yourself, your name, company, designation, and put your questions to the concerned speaker. So not wasting much time, to start with, I would like to introduce our partner, presenting partner, botminds.ai, the world's first unified platform for intelligent document processing and process automation. Their goal is to help businesses understand and take fast and accurate decisions. They use their patent-pending AI and ML technology to extract insights from documents and websites and get their customers up and running within a week. They enable end-to-end intelligent automation that is highly customizable, needs no code, and takes 90% less than standard sample data to train their engine. Using Botminds technology, the customers can build custom models to read, understand, and summarize data from documents and websites within hours. A little brief about the webinar, why we have all gathered here today. We have all seen insurance industry has witnessed a new wave of disruption led by technologies like AI, RPA, IoT, and machine learning, forcing insurers to innovate and introduce new products and services at an unprecedented pace. There are a few key takeaways from this webinar today, like we are going to discuss and our thought leaders are going to highlight the post-pandemic scenario of the insurance industry and the impacts. How technology plays a key role in reshaping it with the whole dynamics changing that we have all faced in the last 1 year. Understanding the opportunities and benefits with intelligent document processing and how it further enhances CX and underwriters. So now I would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Vikas Anand. He's currently the Vice President, Sales and Marketing at Botminds and has over 20 years of industry experience with HCL, Infosys, and Blue Prism. He has spent 18 years in outsourcing, consulting, and sales with global clients like Apple, Best Buy, Deutsche Bank, to name a few. The last 5 years, Vikas has been with the RPA and intelligent automation industry, helping organizations in their digital transformation journey and identifying the right tool sets to solve their business challenges. And today, he is going to share his insights on document process workflow automation for insurance. Over to you, Vikas, to take over the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ekta. Thanks for the kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I guess, Ekta, I'm audible. Everything is fine? Okay.
Yes, you are.
So share my screen. Please confirm you can see that.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. Okay. So thank you, everyone, again for gathering here today, Friday afternoon. We are looking at having a conversation about our document process workflow through automation specifically for insurance. And all of you are from the insurance sector and you have, interest there. We've got a lot, excellent panel, which is gathered here today to actually, have a conversation about all the things important when it comes down to insurance, starting with the fact that, how has landscape on the technology changed? How has that impacted insurance? Because in the last year and a half, COVID has impacted many businesses, specifically insurance, when it comes down to claims and so on and so forth. And we'll also be talking about, what are the best practices in terms of when you go ahead and implement and look at adopting new technology within the insurance, sector. And these are the, the panel members, have their variety of experiences, and we'll talk about that there. what I want to cover in the first 20, 25 minutes essentially is our view on how we look at the insurance process overall, and what is it that we believe at BotMinds we can deliver when it comes down to document processing. All right. So in here, if you look at the insurance process, there are multiple processes, of course, which are there. You've got underwriting decisions, you've got regulatory compliance, fraud detection, claim processing, claim decisions, and there are many, many, many more of them. What I've done here is I've kind of taken up just the underwriting process as an example. If you just read this journey map from left to right, you're looking at, receiving a submission, data that gets entered, that gets analyzed. You're looking at review rates and options, and put together a quote, negotiate with the broker, and then bind the policy. Now, all of this is being done with the underwriter. The challenge with underwriters essentially, or that they face really, is that they essentially have a lot of data to deal with. They have a lot of data, then they have certain pieces of software that is coming through to them. They have multiple file formats that they're dealing with, and it's a challenging work. And it does seem like, and that's kind of what I've heard in my experience, is that underwriters spend more time dealing with process than basically doing the underwriting work, right? So that's something that kind of needs to change. That's where we are looking at. When you look at all these pieces, you've got certain areas in which automation, of course, as a whole has already taken place and taken hold within the underwriting and the insurance processes in general. What that means is that you have RPA, IPA, et cetera, working on it. But there are challenges which are still there when it comes down to document processing, when it comes down to open documents, unstructured documents. So if you just look at the second part of this, which is your document processing opportunities, I believe that these are certain scenarios within the underwriting process that essentially have a lot of document handholding, document processing, document integration, which are there. And we at BotMinds, or IDP in general, basically can solve those problems and basically can look at that. So let's take one or two examples. You got standardization of submission data. Data comes in a variety of formats. Data comes in a variety of templates. Variety of unstructured ways as well. Different types of files come through. You have to parse the data, and that's where a lot of human work actually goes through. That's a lot of manual labor, manual work that essentially goes through. So if you look at the challenges that the industry is essentially facing, from an insurance standpoint, I've kind of highlighted these four there. I'm sure there are a few more as well, but the relevant ones, which is subjectivity and risk identification, which essentially you've got unstructured document, you've got non-standard clauses, which are basically very, very time consuming. Even if you have a lot of people, SMEs working on it, you've got, non-standard clauses, which basically, miss out from a lot of, SMEs who are actually working on that. Then you got manual input of a variety of data sources, very document intensive. You've got, handwritten documents coming through. You got different types of, documents in electronic format coming through. They have to be kind of picked up from different sources, as well. Then you got, legacy application and disparate systems. So you have multiple systems that are in use. And of course, insurance, banking, finance in general is, one of the, early adopters of technology, in my view. And all of these things essentially work with a lot of old systems, and they're still there, in play today. So any technology that comes through kind of has to look at those systems as well, those pieces of software, those pieces of integration, to be able to go ahead and pick up the integration and get the value out of that. And at the end, you've got the fourth one, which is maintaining regulation and compliance, where you have, standardizations and rules. You've got a HIPAA compliance coming through, then you have, GDPR compliance coming through. All these things keep on increasing and improving. And, underwriters and insurance industry specifically has to kind of catch up to that and always, keep up to those changing requirements, which are there. And if you don't do that, there are compliance challenges, which a lot of organizations essentially face. So these, to me, are critical pieces there. And if you don't look at all of these pieces, you've got a challenge that is coming through to you, which is you've got a high dependent on manual labor. So you have everything basically dependent upon the SMEs based on the users. Automation kicks in when it comes down to RPA, automation kicks in, but the base requirement on an RPA is that you need to have some kind of structure in place. Yeah, RPA is expanding with an IPA, combined onto that with an AI. But again, it's a combination of a couple of things there, right? All the documents essentially need a subject matter expert to be able to decipher what is written there. It is time consuming. You can run into multiple errors. The output could be inconsistent, and operationally it could be consequential as well if things go missing. Having set that stage, what is it that what is it that we are looking at for towards the insurance industry? What is it that we kind of have to offer is as follows. The way we look at automation is that it is a combination of both speed and intelligence. So RPA essentially gives speed, that's your bots, but intelligence, as you probably would have just heard me say a couple of times already, intelligence is essentially sitting with these subject matter experts. The subject matter experts are the ones who know what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. They are trained. Once they pick out the information from your unstructured data or the documents, then you essentially have your automation kick in. But at BotMinds, we believe speed and intelligence as a combination is very, very critical to automation. And more so specifically when it comes down to document processes workflow. So our way to look at automation is slightly different. We are not an RPA company which has an AI kind of built around it. We are basically an AI first company which has a document understanding engine at the core, and then we have an RPA or an IPA sitting around that, right? So that's essentially where we are. We are an AI first platform, and as a result of that, our mission essentially is that we want to understand all types of documents, whether it's PDF files, it is scanned documents, it is a web page, information somewhere on some of the document, etc. We want to understand all the document. That's what we offer. Second piece is that the training needs to be simple, and we offer a point-and-click training. Anytime you might have seen AI mentioned somewhere, there are a couple of things that go in terms of consideration. The first really is that it will take a lot of time because you have to train the AI. It needs a lot of data set. And I need to assemble a team of data scientists and AI engineers to be able to build that out. And that's all fair. But in terms of a product, in terms of a service, essentially, you're looking at only point and click type of training coming through. And I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a slide or two. So training has to be simple so that business by itself can go ahead and do the training. Business does not have to be dependent upon IT to get the training done or to get the processes running. All right. I'm getting a lot of notification on my screen. Ekta, I want to confirm you're seeing the big slide or you're seeing small presenter view here.
Sorry, we can see a slide, Vikas.
Vikas,
it's good full screen. Yeah.
Yeah, full screen. Okay. I'm getting a lot of notifications there, so I hope it's not bothering anyone.
No, it's perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, and the third piece really is what I spoke about when it comes down to the amount of data AI really needs. The AI essentially works in terms of most of you would be already aware. It works basically in terms of a lot of data that comes through. There are multiple other scenarios with it, with the AI bias and transparent AI. We'll keep that aside for another day. But in here, with BotMinds, you're looking at only 100 plus examples, not 100,000 examples. You're looking at a very quick point and click training to be able to train our base models to go ahead and extract information from a particular document. And when we do that, the end result there essentially is that you've got an AI first automation process that is available to you. It is a no code automation. It has ready-made modular blocks, which means you can just get started. And I'll talk about the blocks in just about a second. And then you have an end-to-end automation platform. What I want to mention here is that BotMinds is a horizontal platform, which means it is not custom made to a particular scenario. However, it is very much tuned towards BFSI, financial services, industry, insurance, etc. And we have a lot of blueprints which are kind of ready and available. So that allows you to have an end-to-end platform overall. And as a result of that, you basically get efficiency, up to 10x efficiency coming within a few weeks' time rather than months and years. So in the next two slides, I'm going to talk about the platform, maybe relevant for all the tech folks here. But immediately after that, I am going to straight away jump onto use cases and case studies there. So that's the sequence so far. All right. So there are 4 steps when it comes down to getting started or using the platform, BotMinds. One is you ingest the documents. So you essentially upload all the documents. then our document AI, our document understanding, basically understands the document or parses the document or extracts the information, from there. Once you have that piece, then you train the document to say, okay, you've uploaded a PDF file. We understand the PDF. We understand it's an agreement. We understand it's a bill. We understand it's an invoice. We understand it's any other type of document. We already understand that. We also understand that this document, when it begins, when it ends, where are the pages, where are the tables in it, where are the multiple, if there are images sitting there, if there's an information that has been highlighted in bold. We basically understand the document just the way a human being would understand the document, which means that we capture, and that's the next step that comes in. When we go ahead and do the train, we capture the SME knowledge as part of our platform. What that means is that whatever SME would go ahead and do and look at a document and say, it's an unstructured document. I need to pick out this information, from this discharge summary that has come through. And as a human, it's very easy for us to know that it looks like this. But as an automation or as a RPA without an AI component on it, it is kind of very difficult. But the moment you put a document understanding component there, it's very easy to understand. That's what document understanding does. It understands and it captures, as part of the training, it captures the overall, experience of the SME specifically for that, scenario, for that industry, and say, okay, this is how you understand the discharge summary. This is how you understand the total bill value, and so on and so forth. Once that is done, it comes down to the extraction piece, and we extract the value and we present structured output. So from an unstructured document to a structured output, it's just a 4-step process here. And behind the scene, essentially, these are the multiple pieces which are working, across end to end. So ours is a unified platform which combines both IDP and IPA, the intelligent document processing and the intelligent process automation. And these are the variety of components. So things like connectors, crawlers, understanding of table, understanding of text, understanding of a document or a web page, or research and analytics, et cetera, all of those are kind of part and parcel of the overall platform. And the point of the whole platform really is that it works so seamlessly that you don't know, or you don't really feel what part is working up and what part is actually getting you the output. And all of this essentially is modular. To demonstrate that modularity, I have some examples to show you, which I'm going to show you now. So this is an example where we are extracting information from forms, right? So this is a claim form. It's a health insurance form on the left-hand side. This is how our platform looks like. The information that you see here is a form information. The information that you see on the right-hand side essentially is a value extracted from those form real-time within our system. So you upload the form. Once those 4 processes are done, on a steady state basis, you're looking at real-time extraction of all this value. So in here, you can see that we have SSIN information, we got charges, we got your patient's birth date, all the information which is there, we've kind of picked that up. In here, you could have multiple, multiple formats, you can have multiple templates, you could have checkboxes. We can read the checkboxes and understand whether there's a value in there, or it is, it is checked marked or it is not, et cetera, et cetera. So we do all these things with the form. And the kind of pieces which are working at the back are your form AI, table AI, semantic understanding, and multiple other AI models are working at the back. Take a second example here. Now, in this one, we are looking at extraction from medical bills. Now, you're looking at the bills coming through. The bills could come into multiple formats depending upon the hospital or the establishment or the organization which is generating that. Bills are usually kind of we know as a human being we know what a bill looks like, but technically bills are unstructured. You don't know when something would start. They basically have a structure that they have an establishment name, then they have the itemization and so on and so forth. But it could have multiple entries here, and as you can see, extraction of policy information, extraction of bill details, the amount that needs to be pulled out, the company amount, the total bill amount. What is invisible right now is the normalization that is going on. So it's not just extraction of value, but it is, hey, your claim amount is 27,000, but the insurance will only pay you 15,000. That's the kind of amount, or the amount that is kind of approved per patient within the system, within the process can already be fed in or can be picked up from a different system. And we can do that normalization here and say, hey, this seems to be larger than the amount that this patient is entitled for, as an example. If you take medical bills and you say, okay, this is great, but what about the items and the different line items there? So the itemized pieces, also get extracted. That's where our table AI comes into play. That's that module. That's that AI model that comes into play. So you got various line items, every single piece which is written, and this is a scanned document, very clearly. And the information in terms of, every single column has been extracted from an unstructured image or a document to a structured document, which is normalized. The information is extracted. It has been validated. Even you would see somewhere in the middle that talks about claim coverage. Right now you see amount, line item, and a claim coverage. And you can say, hey, this item is covered by us. Yeah, that's covered. This item is not covered by us. So all that normalization and validation actually happens in the real time. We connect with the internal system, and then we, extract the value, match that up, get the normalized value out, and you get the, the output at the end. All right, let's take a look at another example here, and I'm going to go with a case study immediately after this one, and talk about this very specific, example there as well. And here, looking at discharge summary, about a large document, you've got multiple different types of ways in which the information is kind of written out here. So you got small tables written down, you've got normal, text format written somewhere. So what goes in here to be able to extract the value? If you're looking at whether this person is a social drinker and an active social drinker, the idea is to be able to identify where in this large document is this information. We are not working on templates. We are not working on find and replace and search and extract value. We are basically working on how a human being would read a document and then extract that information from the document and bring that out. So information could be anywhere. It can change the sequence. It can change the format. It can change, the preferences, and we are able to still extract that out. All right. So with this, I'll take you, to a case study. All right, so this is what we've done for one of the organizations, in the U.S. Non-banking private sector life insurers in the U.S. This is one of the largest KPOs, which is essentially handling this client. And as part of this, we were doing, we were handling the insurance risk underwriting, process for them. The gravity of this process really is you've got, 100,000 pages of patient medical history of scanned images that was really coming in. 250 plus subject matter experts essentially involved in extracting the value manually, which is basically what is happening, most of the time to unstructured documents. And then case reports needed to be created by those SMEs. They need to be basically written down by those SMEs, and risk evaluation kind of needed to be done. And it was very much manual, very much subjective, very much error prone. What we were able to deliver to them is we used RobotMind's, platform, which basically already is trained to understand the documents, and we customized that to their risk underwriting needs, and we deployed that in their respective, private cloud as per the compliance requirements. And then all the activities that the SMEs had, we kind of recorded those activities not by the recording function, but essentially training our AI. The way SMEs work. So SMEs go ahead and train our AI saying that this is how I find this value. This is an example of this particular information. And that training roughly takes about a week or so, using on the point and click. And through that, we were then able to generate a case report summary. And that case report summary essentially had multiple variations. It wasn't just, one mail merge kind of a scenario. It was, if this is the kind of report that is coming through, then this is the kind of summary that needs to be presented, and so on and so forth. So there were multiple variations. The information needed to be extracted, and it kind of needs to go in to that case summary itself. So that's something that we had done. And as a result, we were able to deliver, roughly about 75%, case summaries. We saved about 75% of time there, 10 times faster, in terms of the risk subjectivity. So they were able to save a lot of time. And they were also able to increase the speed and the throughput by which they were able to go ahead and complete the underwriting process, for their respective, clients as well. I haven't mentioned so far, but as you can see, we have a human in the loop. So essentially any type of training, any type of, correction that needs to be done, all the QA processes are part of the BotMinds platform. So I'll show you, you've seen snippets of it so far, but I'll show you a full platform, as an example with a running demo here. So that's how platform looks like. It's a SaaS-based platform, runs on a browser. On the left-hand side, you've got the document that has been loaded up. On the right-hand side is the extracted value, which is extracted in the real time. The moment you click on any of the value that is extracted, it's not just extracted, it tells you where that value specifically, and you can go ahead and refer and check whether it's correct or it is, something needs to change. It doesn't matter how the value is, whether it's table format or whether it's, text format or an overall summary, as you can see in front of you now. It doesn't really matter. We can extract the content from there or the context from there, depending upon what that is. Not just extraction, you can also take the value out from the platform. This simply gets converted onto a CSV or an Excel format, which is essentially your structured output here. Everything that you see there has been extracted. You can also take this out in a PDF format, and you would just see me download a PDF and open now. So this is exactly what you saw. All the information that you saw there is here. But what you haven't seen before, it exists everywhere, is our deep linking technology. So we kind of picked up a social drink and an active. The moment I click on that page number, I am taking to that platform. I'm taking, to BotMinds platform, that specific medical report, that specific page, and the value where it was extracted from. So that's our deep linking technology. So anytime you go ahead and extract a value and send it for verification or further processing, usually the context kind of gets lost, but not necessarily, with BotMinds platform. So that's the example there. I have two more, case studies that I will show, but I would not show any examples around that. Let's talk about the first one. So this is our customer AI onboarding, and this is where we are doing the KYC registration, enrichment of the data, master database, over a period of time continuously. As you can understand, there are multiple, 15,000 plus KYC forms were coming in on a daily basis. We have multiple types of KYC documents as well. So a variety of document types, variety of documents, different types of formats, different types of orientation as well. A couple of, 200 people were working on that. And our solution really was to use, our IPA capability, our OCR capability, our human in the loop extraction, and push all of that, and then, give them, a customer onboarding process or a KYC verification process here. As part of that, we save roughly about 80% on the overall time in terms of the operational cost. And through all this, this organization was able to handle about 5x more volume. And the last on the list really is the mailroom automation case study. And this is where we've done sorting through about 50,000 claims communication daily. So these are communications which is coming through over the email. There are attachments over there, and the attachments kind of need to be extracted. The email kind of needs to be understood. Very, very contextual information. And a large workforce was essentially doing this work, but they also had roughly about 10,000 plus rules, sequential rules, against which every single input was being validated. So you can imagine how frequently that was breaking and how archaic that specific solution really was. So we were able to go ahead and build this out, and get it out to them in just a couple of weeks' time. As a result of that, they saw overall about 40%, improvement in the overall efficiency there. So that's an example. So my attempt so far is to give you a variety of different types of things. I have 3-4 minutes worth of more, conversation left here, and I'll talk about platform now again in terms of how it's available. So our platform is available on the cloud. It can be done on your private cloud as well. And if you must have it on demand, we can provide it on demand also. Another key important thing, our AI essentially sits within the cloud in which we deploy. So there is no data that essentially comes back to us, in BotMinds for processing. Everything happens locally, with you. And our platform is enterprise ready. I just mentioned about data privacy, all things in terms of roles-based access, integration, audit logs, team management, they're all there. It's a very simple 3-step process, to get onboarded. You heard the 4 steps earlier. This is the 3-step process here. Import, monitor data, provide example, and you have an automated workflow as the output. And that gets integrated to your business, either directly through the upstream and downstream API, or go ahead and manually put in somewhere in the middle where you've got, a human being still picking up and doing the verification. At the end of that, the impact is your rapid ROI. So you're looking at an ROI coming back to you, within a couple of weeks' time, not months, not years. Even a traditional RPA implementation takes a couple of quarters before it starts generating the results. And we've seen and delivered results, within a couple of weeks, worth of time. You can expect, great cost efficiency, operational efficiency and cost saving, and a very large jump in the overall, capacity when it comes down. And what that really means, for the insurance business really is that, yes, you get rid of the subjectivity when it comes down to taking care of the, large documents. You have a very faster turnaround time. Of course, you can underwrite, with confidence as an example. So reduction in that turnaround time for claims or underwriting, and making sure that, your claims are paid, rightly. That is the end of my session. I'm very happy to take any questions that anybody has already kind of put in the chat window. And Ekta will invite you to ask your question if you would like to do so. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and read that question and answer that for you. Over to you, Ekta.
Thank you so much, Vikas, for the interesting insights that you have shared. So to start with the Q&A, I've already shared the guidelines, but still we have a few questions on the chat room. We have a question from KV and Swati. She wants to know that apart from automating KYC documents, is the process of verifying the KYC documents is there in this? That is, if given PAN is genuine or fraudulent document.
Yeah, we can, there's a different service that does that verification, and we can of course integrate with that service, and we can complete that entire loop. So we will not be doing a PAN verification ourselves. We'll go ahead and integrate with the PAN verification service, and we'll loop that back and bring it to you saying that this PAN is valid. Very similar to when you saw the claims that said that this claim is, this is a part of the claim, or this is not as part of the claim. It's a similar result that you would see on the real time there.
I hope that answers your question, Swati. Okay. So the next question, Vikas, we have is from Mr. Ravi Rajan. What kind of companies you work with, insurance processing or back office companies?
Sure. So Ravi, both at the moment. Primarily, we have seen the insurance, back office organizations, which are KPO organizations as per our definition. They usually have a lot of processes. They have the requirements, they have the people, they have the business, they have the challenges that they need to kind of deliver across. That's been one of our first pieces to work with at the moment, and through that we've kind of done work for quite a few organizations there. We're very happy to work either way, but as of now, that has been our exposure.
Then the next question by Mr. Ravi Rajan again is, what is the general pricing model?
Sure. So our pricing model is, in two parts. We've got, an onboarding fee that is depending upon the kind of scenario, depending upon the kind of number of attributes. These attributes are number of fields, so the value that needs to be extracted, and a couple of other variabilities there. So that's a one-time charge. That's an onboarding fee. And then we have, a monthly subscription cost, which essentially runs recurring month on month. We've got multiple slabs. All of these things run on the number of pages. So if you got, certain less number of pages, you have a slab, and then you have, very extremely high volume, then we got a slab for you. So basically one-time cost, and then you got a per page cost with minimum commitment.
Okay. We have again the question repeated from Ms. Swati was, can we collate this with our underwriting engine, the fraudulent part which you covered?
Yes. Not sure I understood. I'll repeat that question. So can we integrate this platform with the underwriting system? Is that what the question is? I don't see that on the chat. The answer, yes. So if that's the question, the answer is yes. We will go ahead and integrate that. That's where our IPA piece comes into play, which is the intelligent process automation. So it is the end-to-end piece. You can get the values. We can pick up the values from wherever. It could be your email. It could be your current platform. It could be a container. We extract those values, do the entire processing real time, and we can deliver that. So in a typical production, in a ideal scenario, you probably never have to see Botmind's platform or never have to open and come to that screen. Everything really happens, behind the scenes. Yeah,
thank you. We have questions lined up actually, Vikas. So we have one from Jyoti. She mentions, I want to know how to read the attached data base like PAN, Aadhaar forms, etc. if we have to match it or write it somewhere.
Sorry, I didn't get that. How do we read the data if you have to match it? Okay. So matching and writing, I think that's an offline activity, but I think what you're trying to get to, Jyoti, really is you have the PAN that is written there. Then you have another data source which actually has the PAN number, and that's where you're doing the verification and say whether this document that has come to me, is that the correct document? Does it have the right PAN information? Yes, that correction validation would happen. And right in the middle, we can do that previous question that was asked, can we validate this PAN? So you would extract the PAN, we will validate it and say this is valid, and then we will go ahead and check with your existing data source and say this is what the information is. Yes, there's a match. So hypothetically speaking, you would have a PAN number, valid PAN number matches. So you can see this output coming, in the summary as well. So that's how that will work.
Thank you, Vikas. There's one question from Mr. Rish Pandit. How will you analyze claims? Do you need the claim history for AI to run and show analysis?
Sure. So, Harish, we are not analyzing claims. We are essentially extracting the value. So the understanding of how you analyze the claims, if that is part of you look at extracted value from a document, then you go and look at the claim history at the back, you pick out the information from there and you do, a match there and you do a validation there. If that's the piece that needs to be done, that is something that we will do. But that is part of the training that will come through. So yes, I see your question there. Would we need a history on the claim? If that's a match that needs to be done, then yes, that history would be required to do the match. What I'm trying to get to is, I'm not an insurance expert, quite honestly. What I'm trying to get to is that whatever that process is, as long as it means extracting information specifically coming in from documents, which is one big problem. And then you have another source of truth, and you kind of need to match that. We can do all these three pieces, end to end under a single platform.
Thank you, Vikas. There's a question from Sonal Shirke. You must have read it. How many countries you have reached or implemented the solution?
Sure. So our headquarters is in Seattle, US. Our development center is in Chennai. So we kind of are working with the KPO organizations. We are kind of a lot of customers in India, and we have a lot of few customers, I should say, in the US as well. So that's the two right now at the moment. So we haven't really gone beyond any of these two regions.
Question from Ayushman Kaur. There is a lot of unstructured data in India, unlike in Western countries. How do you plan to bring all the values under one domain extraction, which helps us to take informed decision and sell online platform upfront?
Yeah. So yes, I understand. You're right. There's a lot of unstructured data, and that is where our solution really is. We are not looking at structure coming through. I think you could mean two ways on that. One is the data itself is unstructured. Two, you don't really know what you're going to get. So that's the unstructured piece as well. We can handle both of that. We can look at the fact that, I don't know what data I'm going to get, but when that data comes through, that does not match the data or the type of document or the type of source of information that kind of has come in from anybody else before. So we handle that, fairly well. We understand variety of types of documents, and we can extract the value, from the unstructured document that we kind of have not seen before. That is where also human in the loop come into play, where you would say, okay, this is a new document. I'm kind of 70%, 80% confident about my extraction capability. Maybe somebody needs to look at it first. The moment that person looks at it, which is human in the loop, the training goes back to the system, and the next point onward, it learns kind of, better. And with that, there's also, I've mentioned briefly the transparent AI, and I want to answer, with this Ayushman's question here. You have the ability to see why our platform is predicting a particular value and how confident our platform is at any given point of time. So you can look at that real time and say, this is only 70% confident, this is 90% confident. Do not give me any values at the output beyond 9 if it is less than 95% confidence level, etc. So you can put all those structures in place as well.
Because we have three more questions, we'll quickly take that up, I guess, if you're okay with that. Okay,
yeah.
We have a question from Anish. Does the tool handle handwritten information or information from stamps, etc.?
Sure. So we've handled this stamp scenario once where we had invoices coming in, non-insurance invoices coming in, where we had to look at the fact whether this invoice is stamped and signed. So we have an ability to do that. Our platform is basically built on microservices. We don't inherently have a handwritten engine as part of it. We can definitely integrate that, handwritten engine and then generate the results there. So that's possible.
Okay. There's one question from Mr. Ajad. Can we extract data from picture taken from mobile, and what's the accuracy percentage?
Sure. So when it comes down to extracting from pictures, and I think our panel members would comment over there, because that's where the insurance experience is. That's the people that I want to ask questions, because that's the expert panel there. But when it comes down to mobile pictures, all we're looking at a decent clarity within them. I understand all the claim forms. People just go ahead and take a mobile picture there. As long as it is 300 dpi or thereabouts there, we are comfortable, with extracting information from handled pictures also.
Okay. Thank you, Vikas. Actually, we have 4 to 5 questions lined up. But I think we should move to the panel and we can ask them. We already have their questions on the chat room, and we can take it post-panel discussion. I hope that's okay. Yes.
And if you have asked the question, either way, the question will get answered. I'll stay after the 5 p.m. as well to be able to answer your question. So we'll take that. But let's go to the panel now.
Yes. Thank you, Vikas. So thank you, Vikas, for the interesting insights that you have shared. And we had a lot of questions lined up. So now quickly moving to our panel discussion, which speaks about accelerating business value by streamlining insurance process with the help of IDP. Where the session would focus on a few points I would like to mention is enhanced customer experience, and this includes real-time updates, how IDP to automate and speed up document processing, especially dealing with larger volumes, and IDP intelligent document processing and its business benefit. So to start with, I would first like to introduce all our panel speakers, starting with Mr. Vivek Bandhu, Director Global Technology Services, MetLife, a seasoned leader with 2 decades of experience and expertise in digital transformation, digital product management, tech program management, and transformational change, currently with MetLife, and works in close collaboration with executive management teams to draw portfolio roadmap and strategy. He's responsible for managing large program budgets along with projects prioritization, which delivers business value. Our next speaker, Mr. Gaurav Kumar, Associate Vice President and Head PMO and Analytics with Future Generali India Insurance Company Limited. Gaurav is an experienced strategy professional with a diverse and demonstrated history of effective strategy formulation, execution, project management, and analytics in the manufacturing and insurance industry. Now he's actively involved in digital transformation at Future Generali, where he has already established a robust analytics foundation. Gaurav is one of the first to publish research paper on COVID pandemic evolution, simulation of lockdown scenarios in India, and has also developed a live simulation for the same. Welcoming our next speaker, Dr. Abhijit B. Ghosh. He is currently working with Bharti AXA General Insurance and is Senior Vice President heading the Health PMO. He has been a pioneer in health underwriting, health claims processing, fraud control, and government health schemes management, and a key innovator. He has also worked with LexisNexis Risk Solutions, where he has been associated with a lot of data analytics for improving efficiencies of claim and underwriting. Our next speaker, Mr. Gurdeep Singh Batra, Senior Vice President and National Head, Retail Underwriting, Bajaj Allianz General Insurance Company, working with general insurance industry for 32 years now, fellowship in insurance, inter-CA and MBA in finance. He was involved in a system transformation project with PSUs and now involved in Bajaj Allianz too, as they're moving to cloud-based architecture. And one, Mr. Gokul Ganpati, the co-founder and CEO of botminds.ai, will be joining them. And now I would like to invite our moderator, Mr. Vikas Anand, Vice President, Sales and Marketing. Over to you, Vikas, to take this panel discussion and make it interesting.
Thanks, Ekta. First of all, dear panelists, thank you very much for taking out time today to come down here, virtually to be able to, have your experience shared. And I believe we have 100+ years of experience, amongst all the panel members here. So the very first thing I want to start, with really is to understand, what the current landscape of technology looks like when it comes down to insurance and underwriting. What is the technology that you kind of seen? I will start with Vivek as the first question. So Vivek Bandhu, I'll come to you with that, and then we'll go around the table and ask everybody else the same question as well. Vivek, over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Vikas, for the question. And it was an insightful session which you took on the platform. Coming directly to the thoughts which I have on this question, being a part of this industry for more than a decade, I have seen a lot of transitions with respect to technology stacks, particularly in the insurance industry. Right. Earlier, with respect to the core systems which we had, right, they were legacy systems. For example, you would have heard names, right? Life Asia Insurance, or Life Asia Ingenium, so on and so forth. And most of the processing were done on those systems. With time, I think in the recent past, and due to digitization and digital transformation, I think the technology stacks and the way we create the technology landscape for in BFSI and insurance in particular has seen a sea change. It's been a drastic change. Right now, as we speak, the entire landscape and the architecture is moving towards a microservices architecture, right? We are connecting with multiple sources of information. Whether they are in public domain or in private domain. The landscape is going towards an API-oriented microservices architecture. We are seeing smaller layers of technology with niche systems and products which are available in the market. There is a multi-integration of products solving for customers and business needs. There is an advent of multi-cloud operations, which is there in the landscape. Essentially, there is a collaboration of systems and technologies within the enterprise, outside the enterprise. I've also seen, personally, I've, led projects which were consolidated in nature. So, for example, consolidating 4 or 5 applications and bringing them to either an Oracle suite or a SAP suite. But then in the last couple of years, we have seen niche players who are coming into the market, who are, disturbing and, that entire balance of the large ERP players. So, for example, if I'll take a couple of names, BotMinds, for example, Automation Anywhere, UiPath, all these companies are, disrupting that balance, which is new age. It stands directly in front of legacy enterprises, and in my mind, that's the way to come. Personally, I've been working with a lot of startups, and obviously, they give us the niche and the depth to work in a particular domain, which may or may not be available with a large enterprise. So as to say, from an organizational point of view, when we look at players to work with, we obviously look at how nimble, how easy, how agile that company is, for us to work with, and that is changing the entire tech landscape in my mind. So these were my couple of thoughts. Thank you, Vikas.
Thank you, Vivek, for that. I would come down now to Mr. Gurdeep Singh Batra. With your 30 plus years experience within the industry, I think you've kind of seen a lot of changes, a lot of new fads, dare I say that, a lot of these scenarios come through and go along. What's the landscape of technology that you kind of see, having seen what you've seen, having heard about IDP, IPA, and all the other, things as well. What's your view on that in terms of technology?
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, Gokul. Thank you, Ekta, for this. And thank to my all co-hosts been here. Very frankly, I've seen the industry moving from a manual operations to an automated operation. So we were writing registers when the proposals used to come in. From there, we have jumped into diskless nodes using floppy disks of 4 inches and 4.5 inches, and then moving towards cloud computing. So we have seen those all tiles about it. And it's a great experience learning. It has been a learning experience of the technology as well of the various processes that are required with each technology. Each technology brings in a separate set of processes that needs to be imbibed in that, and then the flow happens. The process flow, the document flow only changes with the technology, and it gives the benefit to the users and the purpose for which it has been developed. So definitely basically the use of technology is only with one motto. It should have a positive impact on the business growth, whether you sell, whether you service. So how do we can lever this and make the technology more useful to the users, more useful for our customers, and how we can better service the industry, because the industry is moving to a very different platform as of now. And I think that with the help of the technology, the industry moves to next phase. COVID in particular has been a blessing in disguise for the insurance industry, because the reasons of resistance that were there for the technology from our different stakeholders in terms of users, basically the business user stakeholders, is now expanding, and the business users themselves are expecting, please automate. So with the customers and the business users expecting an automation, definitely it gets a push instead of a pull, and we are definitely bound to see the technology taking over the industry to the next level.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Batra. Everybody's aware of the fact that COVID-19 is the biggest digital transformation disruptor, in the recent point here. Now there is no reason to decide whether we should automate or not. It's basically we have to automate. Everybody kind of has to go there. So with this, I'll come down, Dr. Ghosh, to you, changing the question a little bit. How do you see the impact, that you've seen of the COVID-19 within the insurance sector? Because, we're talking about COVID-19, which is a direct health impact, and insurance comes, right around there. So how has insurance, process changed with COVID-19? How has the technology helped, when it comes down to the last year and a half? What have you seen so far? What are your views, Dr. Ghosh?
Yeah, thanks a lot. So I would first like to thank you, Ekta, and my other co-hosts. From my point of view, what I have seen is that in last 1.5 years, there has been tremendous evolution that has happened. As my fellow colleagues also mentioned, that we have seen that how things have changed from the physical documents or maintaining ledgers. So what I would say is that this was a long practice in many insurance companies. And the way things were going is that there were two types of principles or thought process in the insurance company's mind. There were few players who wanted to innovate and they were ready to take some chances. And I would say they were a handful of you. The majority of them, the insurance companies, their thought process was to wait and watch, let somebody else lead the way and succeed, because then it becomes very easy to copy or to follow what they have been doing. So, but once the COVID came, I think the thought process suddenly changed, and everyone wanted to innovate, and everyone wanted to give that comfort to the customer. Few things were because of the limitations that COVID brought, because now if I have to underwrite a policy, I cannot send somebody to my agent, or I cannot send my agent to go to his home or write the entire proposal form. That is first part. To continue with that, if a medical test is needed again, now I cannot force anyone to go to conduct a medical test or ask the path lab to go to that to the person's home and get that test conducted. So this is from the underwriting perspective. From the claim side, again, courier was down, postal services were down. So I cannot ask the person to send me the hard copy. Now these things were actually being discussed for the last decade, I would say, that how can we make it automated by telephonic consultations, or by getting the proposal form filled online or verbally and all those things. But there were very few players who could take that leap of faith or could execute it. But now there was no other option, because it was I would say an equal field for everyone. And I would say the major innovations due to this has happened in the last 1.5 years. and everyone was thinking that how much comfort we can give to our clients. So, and then there were certain regulatory changes that also came into the picture. Like IID also allowed that, okay, you need not specify for the hard or the physical copy of the proposal form or of the claim document. You can do the claim processing, or you can underwrite a proposal based on the Xerox copies and all those things. So I think these were various things. So one is the calamity that brought a change due to the restrictions, and the openness of mind started drastically. And this is something I would say in 1.5 years, it has evolved very much. And with so many startups in the game who were willing to do those experimentation in ultra short time, because the collaboration is the key. Now, if every insurance company thinks that their own IT will be able to deliver, that is not right also, because there are certain core functioning of the insurance companies, which obviously their in-house IT team can do. But there are something where collaboration is needed, where there are domain experts like you and the other players who have that expertise and have the technology already present. So now the technology mindframe also expanded, because in short time they had to deliver, because you need to do the claim processing, you need to book the policies and all. So that's when the collaboration also started. And what we are seeing is that lot of emphasis is now on, from the underwriting perspective, is on the online filling the proposal form, or voice-based filling of the proposal form, or just a scan copy filling of the proposal form, to an online authentication of the proposal form, to just a voice-based or a tele-medical examination report, and then converting everything, whether it is written or whether it is spoken, into a digital data, which then later can be analyzed. Similarly, in claims, you can just scan the thing. So now the challenge is there adequate technology available? And the answer is yes. So it's up to the insurance companies that how well they can adapt to those existing technological platform, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, and use that technology to see that how they can fast track the policy issuance and fast track the claim processing. Meanwhile, also keep a good digital data at their disposal, so that they can do effective analytics and other type of main is the fraud control thing. So the fraud control measures, because many questions were there regarding that how can you do that. So whatever solution that comes, that should be robust enough to hold the data, and then should be able to push that data into the various analytical platforms, so that the proper analysis can come out, and at the end the policy should get issued correctly. Similarly, the claim should get processed appropriately, and the customer is at peace that, okay, if I've sent my claim, or if I've asked for a policy issuance, that should happen in ultra short time. And in ultra short time, what I would mean is that within a day. So that is how the evolution has happened in the COVID times.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh. So it's interesting, the requirements kind of changed. Usually requirements change when it comes down to regulation, but the end way of doing that work essentially stays the same. But with COVID, what really happened was the people who were doing that back office processing also were not available, right? So this kind of really pushed the innovation, excuse me, pushed the innovation hard to say that the people who can actually go and do certain things, they are not available, the customers are not available. How do we get this thing running? So I think this is the place where a lot of innovative ideas, like you just mentioned, had come through. And I want to come to you, Gaurav, with a question here on how do you see that technology's introduction, the change in the way things are done, how has this changed the overall business model, for an insurance organization? And, we've seen a couple of years ago, that had come through where the moment an insurance organization started adopting, RPA, they went down and claimed saying that, hey, don't we have to wait for 7 days? We go ahead and settle claims in 24 hours. I'm pretty sure they got a lot of business. Now everybody's, back at the same place. Everybody's got the automation. So Gaurav, how do you think technology's introduction really changes, a business model? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thanks, Vikas. That's a beautiful question. And I think a couple of some very fundamental things which Mr. Batra talked about, Dr. Ghosh talked about, are very profound and are changing our insurance landscape, I think, for good, in a very significant manner. And COVID was no less than a major catalyst for this change. And it's now evident. It's now evident. It has changed everything. It has changed for good a sector which was known as a laggard in terms of adoption of technologies because of various reasons, because of the very inherent nature of the sector. Now, what has actually happened is, if you see, successfully carrying out ensuring your business continuity during COVID times, during the constraints of the lockdown, was not was something for survival. You had to do it. There was no shying away from it. And in fact, those who did it, those who were responsive enough, they earned the brownie point. But it has very subtly changed the game. It has changed the competitive landscape in a very significant manner, in the sense that, see, the success stories demonstrated by almost all the leading insurers, the kind of service levels and the kind of comfort which were provided by these insurers, tech-ready insurers, I'll say, has set the service level standard up there. So previously, the service level spread was too wide. We were talking in terms of, say, service in number of maybe days, or for the better ones, maybe few hours. And now the service level spread has become very narrow. Now, in coming times, maybe we are going to talk about, okay, claim settlement within 60 minutes, sub 60 minutes, or I don't know what. So this is what has completely changed the game. It has rather big. The technology was, I'll say, an icing on the cake, but now the technology has become a hygiene factor. It's given. The customers demand, customer psyche and appetite, given that we are a country of millennials right now, and heavy internet users. The service level standards and demand from that point of view has completely changed the game, and we have demonstrated it. So there is no turning back. Now, the ball is in our court, that how beautifully we integrate these technologies in our strategic framework within the organization, with an ecosystem view, not just a typical concentrated use case view that, okay, I want to deploy RPA, or I want to deploy IDP technologies in the initial part of the value chain, where I'm taking up where I'm accepting the proposal forms, extracting information, or I'm doing a claim settlement where I'm going to handle large volume of customer documents. No, it's not that. The game will be different. The successful guys will be those guys who will look at data and who will look at taking a 360-degree view of the consumer from an ecosystem point of view, and offer more than what insurance is typically known to offer. How beautifully you integrate, maybe how the time is going to come then when insurance will have to perhaps act like a partner with the customer in terms of very different kinds of services. Our technological landscape, our strategic framework should be adaptive and should be receptive, or I should say should be agile enough, so that a very seamless integration and integration with various outside insurance alliances become possible, so that we offer differentiated services to the consumers, because your level playing field has become too narrow. Maybe the best guy and the worst guy, the difference will not be too material. That how do you compete? That will change the game.
Very interesting point there, Gaurav. Thank you so much. The last part, it's a kind of two parts that I picked up very heavily there. One is technology is basically the hedging factor. I think that's there. And second, everybody has access to it. So the access from a best guy to the worst guy or not so good guy, they're kind of there. So I want to bring that question to you, Mr. Batra, once. What are the key pieces where you would essentially say, that these are the starting points where an insurance can essentially go ahead and get a benefit from a technology like an IDP or an IPA technology? I'm just looking at a fit in terms of the current challenges that are there within the insurance, some of which I covered, most of which you are aware of that, being the thick of it. what would be a typical starting point that you would recommend to the audience here, saying that, okay, these are the challenges, but start here, given that we have a document understanding, platform and other technologies available. Mr. Batra, over to you. You're on mute, Mr. Batra. Yeah, can you hear?
So with the question, I'll very frankly say the first journey of the customer, because customer is the most important approach when it comes to technology. Does it help the customer? Does our technology implementation in any way gives an advantage to the customer? So the first point that we look at is how does the customer benefit from technology? So the first point, how to simplify the buying process. So how to read the proposal form and quickly understand the risk from it and give a quote to the customer at the fastest. So that is how IDC or BotMinds can help the insurance industry in bringing forth the technology which will do this faster and faster and on the digital forms. Secondly, when we move to servicing, it is the risk assessment at the underwriting level which has to be improved with the help of this technology. The analytics will give better pricing for the future products with the help of this technology, because the data gets accumulated. The data is in a more organized form. The data is more accessible. The data is more clean. And lastly, definitely it helps in servicing faster, because at the end of the day, any customer would like that my claim should come first, my claim should come fast, my claim should come with the right amount, my claim should have the appropriate deductibles and not excess deductibles, my claim should be at the best of the clarity to him on what is paid and what is not. So
Right.
these technologies definitely help processing the claims also to the fastest. So it's a 360 approach, as Gauravji said, that we will need to take, and how this technology helps improve the customer journey will give an advantage to the insurer and the organization in doing more business and bringing a better growth.
Thank you, Mr. Batra. Thank you for that. Coming to you, Dr. Ghosh, with a similar question here. In the challenges that the insurance currently face, where do you see implementation of an IPA technology based on what Mr. Batra has just said? Would you like to add anything on top of that?
Sure, because Batra has already mentioned it very appropriately. What I would like to add on to it is the accuracy and the type of partnership. Because if what I'm getting at a faster pace is not accurate, then there is a big concern. And like it's mentioned that customer wants everything clearly and in a comprehensible way. So accuracy is very important. Now, for the past 10 years, we have been hearing about OCRs. It's not a new term. The only thing is that no one is sure that how much accurate is the OCR, especially on the health insurance side. Technology has been advancing, and if you see how the motor insurance has advanced, you have got ways where only a video recording can help the insurance company to come at a conclusion that what is the payable amount. So now that is the benchmark at the insurance level. But same benchmark is not there at the health side, because the dependence is too much on the discharge summary and on the bills and all those things. Now, if somebody is reading those documents and converting it into a digital data packet, now can I trust that packet or not is the main question. Because basis that I can ascertain that whether the claim is payable, whether it is in the exclusion period, whether it is within the sublimit, and so on things. So accuracy is another important parameter which we all have to look upon, because like you mentioned that we can set up parameters like if the data is less than 90%, then don't share the data and all those things. But in health, it has to be near to 99%, I would say. So a company who claims and boasts of a high accuracy, I think that company will hold a key, because if accuracy can determine the admissibility of the claim, then I would say it is the first and the most important parameter. Because if the claim is not admissible, then I need not do all other things like calculation or where was this field and all. And if the factors which are governing that admissibility are captured wrongly, then it is entirely a wrong thing, and that is what will be the later customer grievance and all those things. So accuracy for me is the first and most important parameter. And second is a partnership, because see, many companies are having in-house technology team, many companies have a hybrid structure and all those things. Now, the people who are raising requests are from underwriting and claims team, and they have certain, or they are the domain expert. Now, when they raise the request to the partner, we are not sure that how much insurance knowledge they are having. So few things normally is deemed understandable that, okay, it should be the minimum criteria. And when those deemed understandable things becomes roadblock, then that leads to delay in the output of the product, and that may also cause a wrong product, even though the accuracy would have been right. So if both the parties, that is the insurance company as well as the technology partner, if they both are collaborating in the correct way, then I think that will be a biggest advantage. I take this example very frequently. Like if I have raised a request for a refrigerator, even if the team forgets to put that the temperature should be below 0 degree also, it is understandable that a fridge should have a temperature below 0 degree. So even if I raise a request and if I have forgotten to add that, if the partner asks that what is the minimum temperature you need and all those things, that is something that's appreciable. And these are the major things which I see comes as a roadblock, but comes as a feel-good factor also. So if the technology partner can give me an accuracy, a guarantee on the accuracy, and a guarantee on the partnership that if I forget, still the solution that will be delivered will be in a proper way, because adequate steps and measures will be taken to ensure that the understanding is good, then I think the association is fantastic, and the outcome of the product that will be made will be what is needed for the insurance company so that it can serve its customer to the best of the knowledge.
Thanks, Dr. Ghosh. I think excellent points when it comes down to the accuracy and partnership. Partnership brings in another question here. Given the fact that there have been a lot of changes and a lot of developments within the AI world, within the technology world, within the insurance adopting technology, there have been a lot of experimentation as well, and something that I'm coming to you with. In your view, what have you seen work, and what is your ideal recommendation in terms of how do you see it working much better? I'm coming to Vivek with this question. So Vivek, what have you seen based on your experience, saying that okay, multiple integration of systems, working together could be one way, but it would be better if there's a unified platform, there's a single platform, or a platform that multiple things, or it's easier because you have variations available to you from variety of different types of players. The partnership point that Dr. Ghosh spoke about.
Absolutely. I think a great question, and it has a lot of relevance in today's ecosystem. What I believe is earlier when we used to, consolidate all these services into a single platform, they came with their own advantages, right? If there is a single platform, obviously the ownership, the control, the kind of commercial arrangement you have with the partner, the SLA, etc., everything comes as a bundled package, and it is easier to manage from a company standpoint, right? Having said that, now with the different needs which the company has, it may or may not be possible to get back to a single platform, and hence the need for a multi-platform architecture, right? Which essentially would mean having a couple of niche products, 1 or 2 or 3 platforms which are interoperable, which are integrated easily by way of either microservices or APIs in a safe environment. But then obviously the onus of managing 3 partners, for example, right, in a claims process, right, 3 lies with the insurance company, which is not easy, right? All 3 partners come with their different sets of dependabilities, their dependencies, their SLAs, their commercials, and their backend infrastructure. For example, a partner A is hosted on Azure, partner B is hosted on AWS, and partner C is on-prem. Then, the insurance company will just run round and round to figure out and streamline their own services, right? So that becomes a problem. So in my mind, if you were to ask me as an insurer, what would I want? In my mind, I would go for a single SaaS-based platform, which is, which is like a tap, right? I open the tap as much as I need, right? So that is where I would look for. I would prioritize a single platform with respect to a multitude of platforms. Simply, it provides ease of management, ease of commercial engagement, and ease of accountability, on that partner. That's the best way forward. If it is not, then obviously we will have to work out with multiple set of partners as we are doing today.
Thanks, Vivek. Thanks for the point. Gaurav, can I bounce the same question of you? Your thoughts on this in terms of a multi-partner or a single partner? I think Vivek brings in a point that if you have multi-partners there, the ownership is very, very scattered, then you don't know what is happening. But if you have a single unified partner, of course, expectation that one product or a partner will do everything is also kind of unreal. But I think he put a point there saying that you may have 3 or 4 of them, which are very, very, well established in terms of what they do. I just want to get your views before I go to Gokul for his.
In fact, Mr. Bandhu very beautifully put up the practical challenges which every one of us are facing, this is the real thing. And in fact, from the other side of the table, like you guys being the tech guys, one of the things which will really matter and which will really add in value for you as well as for an insurance company is how versatile and how adaptable your platform and your technology proposition is in terms of integration irrespective of the infrastructure in the insurance company. Just like there are tech guys who are offering solutions only for, say, Android, not for iOS, to give you a perspective.
Sure.
If somebody is on AWS or in Azure and you can't afford to say that, hey, I can't, I'll not be able to offer you my services if you're on Azure. You got to come to AWS. So the same practical things which Mr. Bandhu talked about. So from a tech proposer point of view, you being the tech guy, you got to develop your offerings in such a way, in such a modularity and versatility that it should be able to fit in the insurance landscape and insurance technology architecture. One of the biggest challenge here is that most of us have a very legacy system because of the very nature of the industry. Many of us are using platforms which are written in COBOL. You know how Policy Asia works. Mr. Batra is smiling. We know that, and it's just now a few years, maybe a couple of years, that we are thinking about, okay, let's undergo a transformation, let's move to cloud and things like that. So we are in a transition phase. The entire industry is in a transition phase, and it will really matter if you are proposing something and you are developing an engine and offering a proposition which is versatile enough to fit in any insurance with any kind of architecture. And it might also intuitively, it appeals to many people that, hey, we are basically selling somewhat commoditized products and everybody should be same. But inherently pick up any insurance company and it will be completely different from the way any other insurance companies are working in terms of the organization design, in terms of the fragmented systems which would have been cropped up around the core over past decade and all. So it makes every insurer very, very different. So it becomes increasingly a challenging task for a tech guy to offer something which will not create another, I'll say, headache for an insurer.
Thanks, Gaurav, for that. I think that's a great summary in terms of the challenges which are there.
Yeah.
And even though everything might be same, everybody's kind of very, very different. So Gokul, I'm coming to you with that question before we open up, for the audience. I see a couple of hands raised there. My last question that I asked, Vivek and Gaurav really was in terms of, whether it's a unified platform or an individual pieces of component. So I want to hear your view on that because you have some background within the, within this sector and having worked very closely with the technology. What do you have to say about that?
Perfect. Thanks, Vikas. And first of all, thanks everyone in the panel. It's honored to be and to share dice with you all experienced in the industry. And I like to, before answering the question, because I like to take a step back to reflect on the discussions happened, mainly around the disruption what the COVID brings to the table, and all the technology options and the technology currently available. Right, it's connected. I mean, now we can see the parallel. Like the change is never a continuum. Right, changes are disrupting changes always in a quantum leap. Right. So you all agree. For last decade or more, you are all pushing your management stakeholders for a lot of change in digital transformation. But all happened. I mean, whatever you plan for next 5 years happened in next in few months. So that's it's because of COVID. The way you used to do the settlement or claims, now you have to think about completely different way. Now that's the same kind of crazy, amazing things happening in the technology as well, right? So we are in scary time or crazy time because of pandemic, and also exciting time period because of the technology breakthroughs happening. So the last 1 year, 1.5 year, the technology breakthroughs happened it's something like unprecedented. It's whatever breakthroughs happened in the last 1 decade, all achieved in the last 12, 18 months in terms of AI, document understanding, NLP I'm talking about. So it's again leading to kind of process re-engineering. So we are in kind of double whammy. I mean, people involved in digital transformation or process re-engineering. You can point two things. A pandemic, it's no longer the same process, and now the technology. I'm getting completely new things. So great things, whatever not available just 1 year back or 2 years back. Intelligent automation, IPA, IDP and IPA together. So that's what I want to start with to answer your question, Vikas. So we are, we're having the technology not seen just 1 year back. Now, what it leads to when we're talking about unified platform, right? So a lot of panel members talked about different solution, how unified platform helps, how one single vendor helps in terms of compliance or the managing the vendors. In more than that, yes, standardization in terms of process, right? One team that settles the claim should use a different system. One team that, let's say, underwriters, they have to use a different system. You don't have to. I mean, you don't have to go for that. It's now the technology reached a stage where we can give a unified platform or unified experience to the users or the back office team members to work in all all different processes. So the technology breakthroughs happened in the last few months, where using a platform like BotMinds, you can create many vertical solutions without having to rely. I mean, without you have to rely on technology or data scientists or machine learning engineers. You can create the solution you need, or you need with just few point and click activities in literally days or weeks. It's possible because of the advancements happened in the last few months. And one more thing I want to highlight is the vertical solutions. You don't have to worry about the data scientists and machine learners. I like to spend a minute more there, because the research happening, if you want to leverage the latest breakthroughs, it's literally chasing chasing a tire. I mean, it's really difficult, because I'm talking from as an insider, because our company's single most goal is to chase the research happening in the intersection of deep learning and NLP. It's a tough job to do. So we are doing that for you, and then we are abstracting to you. And then when you're using a platform like BotMinds, a single platform, you can make use of all the breakthroughs, and then you can create vertical solutions, and in days to weeks. So that's the main benefit I want to add, in addition to the benefits Mr. Bandhu and Gaurav talked about. So you can get that benefit, and then you can see the ROI in days to weeks, and one single platform to automate many processes that deals with documents. Those are the things I want to highlight, and that's more important, to automate all processes in unified way because of the situation we are in, both pandemic as well as technological breakthroughs happening in the recent past. Hope I answered your question, Vikas. Thank you.
Thanks, Gokul. Thank you very much. We can see the excitement that is there from Gokul's side because we are looking at the changing landscape within the AI world as well, and all the things that are kind of now possible. And that's our excitement to bring it down to the insurance industry as well. So Ekta, I'm going to give this back to you. You may have some questions, so please do ask. Take the panel member's name.
Yes.
If it is to everybody, then I would offer anybody on the panel member who would want to answer that question first. Ekta, over to you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, all the panel speakers and Vikas moderating so nicely. So I think after your session, we had a few questions left, and I would really want you to cover on that. So I will take one by one. We had a question from Vigila. So she had asked, is it possible to extract the signature and the company seals on bills or the company's logo?
Yeah, I'd answered that question. The answer is yes, we could look at that. We've kind of done that, for one scenario where we extracted whether the seal is present or not, whether the signature is present or not the extraction of the signature and the seal. So we've done that part. And Ekta, may I request you to take the panel-related questions first, because that's the conversation which is hot right now, and then we'll come back to the individual questions.
So yes,
Thank you.
audiences, we have opened the floor for the questions with the panel speakers. So as you already know the guidelines, you can raise your hands, unmute yourself and put your questions to our panel. So because we'll wait for a while for the people
So
to
we already have two
yes,
questions
we
here.
have on the chat room. Yeah, I was coming to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Two
so
questions.
it's from Mr. Makaran. So Mr. Makaran, do you want yourself to address the question? That would be great. Or do you want me to read it out?
Am I audible?
Yes, Makaran, go ahead.
The question I had asked, because so far the discussion, what has been happening so far is from perspective of what technological advancement is being used by insurance companies and what they can build on from customer service perspective. But I'm missing to understand because a layman or a customer who is submitting claim forms or submitting proposal form for the insurance policy, what he wants to, he doesn't have a technological support what the big organizations can have with them, having track of every transaction happening on their website or on the database and the logs what they have with them. But for a customer, usually what is happening so far is only they get a proposal transcript in as a written mail, which is assumed to be that he has gone through that and everything is understood and he is fine with that. But what kind of services or tools or efforts are being made out there so that customer is able to access whatever information he had submitted, and it's fairly, that is the same that has been stored, and it's not no way edited or tempered or anything like that, because that's the trust factor which comes in. And if at all any platform which gives this trust factor, then I think that is the winning approach.
Thanks for the question, Makaran. Anybody from the panel, from the sector, wants to take that question, please?
Yeah, I'll take this question. This question basically, I understand, comes from, I don't know the actual industry that is Mr. Makrand is looking at, but understanding Mr. Makrand, I understand that it is looking for basically the general insurance industry. In the general insurance industry, it is required that we are supposed to give like in life, there is a proposal form copy that needs to go with the policy copy. So those regulations are coming in place, the regulations are getting executed. Yes, definitely the effort for digital availability of the same data that he has submitted should be definitely enhanced. And I think Mr. Makrant has rightly raised in view of customer centricity.
Thanks, Mr. Batra. Mr. Makrand, did you have any follow-through question with that? Hope you got the answer there.
No, I'm not expecting a perfect answer to be answered here right now on this platform, but it was a thought which I wanted to open to all these people out there, so that there is some thought process happening out there and where customer gets benefit out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just would like to add on. I would just like to add on to give more comfort to what Mr. Makan said. Regarding the tampering factor which you just mentioned, ideally, since insurance is based on trust, so it's from both the insurance company as well as from the person who is buying that policy. So it is from the insurance company side, it's expected that the company doesn't tamper. And if you are aware that, especially from the health side, even now, if any medical test is also done, even that is being shared with the customer. Earlier, it was made mandatory in the life part, but now in the general part, also in the health proposal for or once the policy is issued, the transcript is also shared. The transcript, I mean, is the discussions that would have happened if it is that telemedical examination report, or if there is a physical examination that has been done, even those blood tests are also shared. And it is expected, and it has been told multiple times through IRD as well as by the insurance company, that if they find that the reports are not proper, or they feel that the reports were wrong, then the customers are being asked to contend that they can raise query to that and all this aspect. So, and this is a slightly different topic than what we were discussing. But from the customer centricity point of view, what I would say is that insurance company is trying to create all avenues available to inform the customers and to make that information available to the customer, what he had provided at the time of buying the policy, that which includes the medical examination report also. So starting from proposal form to the medical examination report, everything the insurance company is trying to send to the customer when the policy gets issued and is sent to the customer.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh. Ekta, do we have any more questions?
Yeah, one more question from Anshuman Verma. What's an example of a modern policy admin system? Anshuman is here. Anshuman, do you want to elaborate on this more?
Yeah, essentially it was touched upon by the panelist earlier. Unfortunately, the way the Indian insurance sector has shaped up, you had the early coming up of CSC in the market and Life Asia, and its variants are dominating the insurance market, and that in a sense has really hampered growth in the industry, because all your core insurance operates on those legacy platforms, and you do not had any serious contenders to that in the market. So I wanted the panel's view in terms of, if we look towards the future, we cannot only do innovation in layers outside the policy. There will be a time when you have to strip and remove the policy admin system. If you have to do something similar to what Ping An or Zhongan has been doing in China and replicate that in India, then these policy admin systems are woefully inadequate. So are there any examples that people are aware of which we need to kind of look at?
I'll ask any of the panel members, whoever is aware of that, would want to take the question.
There are, I think, there are many. In fact, New Age, if we have an example of TCS, we have TCS Banks, a New Age policy admin system. In fact, the entire core, which has modern technologies built into it, and which is capable to integrate with all the, so to say, AI ready and analytics ready solutions, which can seamlessly integrate into it. So it's not that there are only legacy guys which are dominating. We have Indian players. We have TCS, which is out there across the world. So
okay, thanks, Gaurav. Yeah. Next question, Ekta. You can go back to the previous set of questions that you had if you don't have any more.
I'll just go there. So we had a question here. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I see a question here from Shekhar.
Yeah.
How many data sample, data size, or training time is required to get your AI to learn the process? Gokul, I'll ask this question to you.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's an important question as well, right? So our AI, our Botmind's AI needs just hundreds of examples. If I have to answer straight away to the question, just hundreds of examples. But there is a misconception about it's rightly so, because just a year back, or even some of the technologies, AI technologies out there, still needs 100,000 or million examples, or many months long training process to make the AI learn the domain. But with BotMinds, it's just hundreds of examples. Again, it's point and click, give 100 example. You can create a model and see the how the model works for your documents. And it's possible because of many years of investment research gone into our platform, where we are actually coming with. I mean, when we go to a customer, we are actually going with some core models already developed, and then only the fine tuning of last layer to understand the particular process is happening. So we can deliver the automation with just a few hundred examples, and that in days to weeks time.
Thanks, Gokul. Thank you very much. Any more questions, Ekta?
Yes, audiences, if you have any questions, we can take one last question, if any. So you can directly ask or raise your hands. Quick one. We'll wait for a second, Vikas.
No worries. I'm also going to drop my email ID on the chat in case anybody wants to ask a question and send it over to me. You're welcome to do so.
I think we have no more questions,
Okay.
Vikas, so over to
Yes.
you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So just to close this webinar, thank you very much to the esteemed panel members, starting with Mr. Batra from Bajaj Alliance, sharing your experience, Dr. Ghosh from Bharati AXA, sharing your experience here with us. Gaurav coming in from Future Generali Insurance. Thanks for your sharing your experience as well. Last but not least, Vivek coming in from MetLife, and of course Gokul, from BotMinds. Thank you so much for sharing all your collective experience. I'm sure there's a lot of understanding of the overall industry landscape. That everybody got. Of course, I got to learn a lot of pieces today. So thank you very much for that. And with that, I'll hand over back to Ekta.
Thanks, Vikas.
Again, on the closing note, I think the audiences have got a great understanding how the whole pandemic has changed the business dynamics for the insurance sector, and how IDP is a platform that becomes critical when the insurance is one of those industries which is heavily document centric. So on this closing note, I would like to thank our presenting partner, BotMinds.ai, all my thought leaders, Mr. Gurdeep Singh, Mr. Gaurav, Mr. Vivek, Dr. Abhijit Bush, for taking out, and Mr. Gokul Ganpati for taking out your precious time on Friday evening, being here, sharing your great insights, making this session very engaging, and throwing great lights on the insurance sector and the whole scenario. Vikas, thank you for moderating it so well, highlighting the importance of IDP. And if anybody, all the audiences, if you're interested in having one-on-one engagement or a brainstorm session with BotMinds.ai, please, we'll be sharing our feedback form, which mentions one of those things, to highlight that so that we can connect you with BotMinds.ai. They have great solutions on